Hello, everyone, and welcome to our first session of National Wellness Month in August of 2025. My name is Logann Todd. I am the Career and Alumni Services Manager here at United States University. Today's session is called Navigating Wellness in a Digital World. So without further ado, we are going to get started. So Digital Wellness 101. Digital wellness, also called digital well-being, digital health, is really about intentional and healthy relationships with technology. So thinking about you and where you are in your current space, you might be in school, you might be a professional at work, but really our lives at this point revolve around technology. There is something within your day-to-day life that requires you to use it regardless of what industry, what occupation, whatever you're doing. Now, technology really does make our life a lot easier. You know, things like streamlining processes, email communication, right? Or even being able to connect with folks across the globe. Technology is a really great tool for us. However, too much technology can also have some negative consequences. So let's take a look at a couple things here. Now, this is pre-pandemic, so this is 2018 data. And so they did a survey on just folks picking up their phone or their mobile device. So on average, we pick up our phone 58 times per day. Again, this is pre-pandemic, so a little bit older. But 70% of those pickups of our phone are around two minutes or less. Where 5% of those sessions, when we pick up our phone, it could be more than 10 minutes that we spend on our device. Now, in terms of what we're doing on there, that has changed a little bit over time, especially given the pandemic, when we didn't have that face-to-face connection and we had to lean on technology to connect with one another and do our jobs, right? And so those have changed a little bit here. So this survey, this data here shows media users, so folks who use different types of media, whether it's their phone, internet, whatever types of media consumption. They're within the ages of 16 to 64, so quite a large range here. And so post-pandemic, we see more and more reliance on media consumption in devices. So we saw an increase in internet usage, social media sites, music streaming, podcasts, and gaming. And so it's really interesting to see that these are the different spaces where it has increased. And so this was taken in 2022, again, post-pandemic. And so these are all spaces where we can connect with one another or consume more media, right? So thinking podcasts, right? Music, games, how can we kind of take our brains away from reality a little bit? And so these different spaces, we saw an increase in usage. Now, no one can say for sure how much digital media is too much digital media or how much consumption is too much, but we are seeing more and more negative effects. And so over consuming or using too much media in digital space, spending too much time in digital space can lead to a lot of things like addiction, mental health impacts, but also physical impacts too, meaning physical impacts on our bodies. So we can see here oftentimes when we're using our digital devices like our mobile phones, right, we're often looking down. We're often sitting, right? It's very rare that we might be, doing a marathon looking at our phone, right? Most of the time when we're on the internet, on our computers, on our phones, tablets, we're typically sitting, we're looking down, we're laying on a couch, maybe we're in a chair, in the car, right? And so this is over time impacting our bodies differently than we've seen before. So we see more increases in headaches from looking at screens and blue light, decreased self-confidence, and also cognitive capacity. So really impacting our brain. You might also know this as brain fog, right? We can't sit and focus for as long as we used to, and that's impacting our brain's neuroplasticity and how long we can focus, our decision-making skills. We are also seeing muscle tightness and soreness, right? If we're sitting sedentary for so long, or if we're in a job where we're on our computer all day and we're sitting all day, not really taking our breaks, not getting up to walk around, move our blood, our muscles, right? We're going to see an impact of that as well. And this also leads to poor digestion, or it can lead to it because we're not up, we're not moving our bodies, we're not allowing our bodies to be in a proper positions for when we're eating, moving around, all of those things. And so, of course, we all know about Zoom fatigue, right? We've all experienced this. So it's a funny meme here to explain. But, those who are currently pursuing courses online, if you're a student and you have to be on camera for an extended period of time, or you're a professional and you're in meetings all day, right? This can be super tiring. It's very similar if you're an introvert and you are in an in-person work environment. At the end of the day, you're exhausted. And so if we're constantly on camera or constantly have to be on, that can take a toll on us mentally and really impacts our overall digital wellness. Digital wellness, mental wellness, physical wellness, all of these things are kind of mashed together. So with that being said, digital wellness is essential because we want good long-term care. We want to live long, healthy, happy lives. And so I hope that you're able to adopt some good practices to help you flourish. And so, as I said, I don't want you to just aim for wellness. I actually want you to aim to flourish. And so I really like this quote here. It says, technology should improve your life, not become your life, right? We don't want to become over-consumed with media constantly. We want to flourish. We want to be able to use technology when we need to, but not have to rely on it. And so I want to introduce you to the digital flourishing wheel. And so when we think of digital wellness or digital well-being, I want you to think of these 8 domains and how each one falls into your life, your lifestyle, your different work styles as well, how each and every one of these impacts you as we move forward. And so I will say there is a fun, quick digital wellness quiz that goes through each of the 8 domains and gives you specific tips and tricks on how you personally can flourish. So here, I'll leave this up for a second. If you scan that, it'll take you to the Digital Wellness Institute, which is where the flourishing wheel and this concept of digital wellness was created. So you can go there and you can take that quiz and get personalized results and read more about digital wellness. But it is a really great resource that is free for you to access. We're going to actually break down the digital wellness wheel together, starting with the top portion. So we're going to start with tech-enabled help here on the left. So tech-enabled help, there's a lot of different things that we can do in this particular domain in our lives. A really good example is a use of mobile or wireless tech. So think Fitbit or our Apple Watches, right? These things can help support us in terms of achievement of health objectives or health goals. So if you have a step goal for the day, right, we can set that on our devices and help get our bodies moving. In terms of digital citizenship, this one is often a little tricky to understand, but it's really about knowing who you are in an online space and taking accountability for what that looks like. So those are things like checking your privacy and security settings. Try Googling yourself. What's available online to the public about you? Or even just taking a minute before you post online and just think if this is appropriate to share. Moving forward to productivity here. So this is exactly what it is. It's being productive in our day-to-day lives. So helping enhance focus, right? Maybe minimizing or managing any distractions. Really good example is if we're at work or we're trying to focus or we're working on an important task, maybe set your phone to do not disturb mode or focus mode. You can also set small goals throughout the day using a to-do list, right? And physically checking things off. That can all boost your productivity. And our last domain here on the top portion is environment. So in a digital space, we want to think of our digital environment or wherever we are using our digital device, thinking about the environment around us. And so this could be like organizing your physical workspace, right? Decluttering, or maybe having a separate desk or space where you do your schoolwork or your work, really making sure it's set up for success. It could also be things like using blue light filters on your devices or getting a pair of blue light glasses, but trying to minimize your digital time as well as much as possible. So now moving to that bottom portion of our flourishing wheel. On the left here, we have physical health. And so we did talk about some different things that we're seeing an impact on our physical bodies, right? Our headaches, could be irritation, our brain's cognitive load. And so really good exercise is just taking a break, walking away, stepping away from our computers, maybe going for a walk. You can even invest in a standing desk if you're someone who likes to stand while they work, or even getting a walking treadmill, all right, or something that can fit underneath your desk. There's tons of those that you can implement that can impact your physical health. Now, on the mental health side, there's also a lot of things that we can do, right? Is maybe having expectations for on-camera work versus off-camera work, or could this be an email? I think that's a common one. Something else you could do is create little sticky notes or create an app on your phone that will send you daily affirmations or positive thoughts. This can help spark creativity, right? You're building your self-care, your self-confidence, and then also setting limits on screen time. So especially newer mobile devices have an app where you can limit your screen time usage on particular apps. You can set timers for how much time per day you want to spend on each app. And then once you hit that limit, you're done for the day. Moving forward to relationships. So this also plays a little bit of a factor in mental health and communication. So that's why it's sandwiched in between these. But oftentimes when we're immersed in our digital world, we forget about our physical world and where we are. And so we want to make sure we're not losing those touch points of personalized connection. We want to try to give our full attention to those that we're speaking or engaging with. No phones at the dinner table rules, or no phones in an office meeting. We want to have, one-on-one personalized attention in the real world. Building relationships in real life can help support mental health, can help open communication barriers. And so that leads us into communication here as our last domain. And so whatever your workspace is, if you are a student, if you're a professional, and you're looking at your technology use in those spaces, consider setting healthy boundaries with those you work with your coworkers, with your other students in your classes, with those around you. Also limiting Zoom fatigue as much as possible, right? Think about, could this be an email? Do I have to have a meeting? Right, that can limit your Zoom fatigue, limit your cognitive load for that section of time. And then also thinking about socially responsible correspondence. So when we're communicating with one another, how are we speaking and how are we receiving information, right? Is it a positive, helpful, supportive space to be in? And so thinking about different ways to communicate with one another there as well. So all of these things really encompass digital wellness. And I have a super awesome toolkit for you here that encompasses everything I talked about, plus some other fantastic options and different tips and resources for digital flourishing, right? We want to go beyond wellness. We want to be able to flourish in our environments, in the physical and digital world. But of course, this one focuses on digital. So you can take a second, scan that QR code. It will take you to the Tips for Digital Flourishing resource guide from the Digital Wellness Institute. It goes through each of those 8 domains, explains what they are a little bit more, and give you helpful tips on how you can implement these into your daily life. So as I close out this session, I want to just give you a couple examples of what digital wellness should feel like and look like in your life. So we want to try to find focus and flow in our work. We want to be able to wake up every day and feel excited about what we're doing. We also want to live in harmony with both physical and digital worlds, right? And there's tons of different ways that I talked about today on how we can do that with our communications, with our relationships, mental health, physical health. Also connecting in meaningful ways with one another, right? So really leaning into that communication aspect and communicating positively with one another. That goes hand in hand with relationships. So relationships online and offline. We want to make sure we're safe we're happy and we're having fun, and those environments are conducive to learning and growth. We also want to embrace mindfulness and self-care through intentional technology use. So we can use technology for self-care and mindfulness. We just have to learn how to do it properly. And then data privacy and settings, right? That's a really fantastic way to enhance our digital citizenship. And then lastly is contributing to a positive digital community in our networks, right? We want to use technology for good, and we want to be able to use it to harness positivity when we can. And so hopefully this session was helpful for you today as we navigated wellness in a digital world. And of course, as the emergence of AI comes, there's lots of different things going on, changing every single day in terms of how we use technology in our lives. So I encourage you to use some of the tips that I discussed today and add them to your own personal toolkit to help you flourish in a digital world. As a reminder, this is the first session of National Wellness Month celebrated here at USU during August. And if you're interested in checking out any of the upcoming sessions or other relevant resources, you can utilize the Career and Alumni Services website, and that is linked there. And also you can scan that quick QR code and it will take you directly to the USU Career Services website. So if you have any questions, you're welcome to contact us anytime, but otherwise have a fantastic rest of your afternoon. And I wish you well as you flourish with your new digital wellness tips.